Life will not always go according to plan. There will always be days where you will feel low. Life is a roller coaster. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. It will not always be your day. While these quotes may have some truths to them, it doesn't always have to feel like life is working against you. Of course, there will be challenges and obstacles along the way, but life is not perfect and seamless. But facing challenges and being uncomfortable does not always have to make you feel like you are not favored. You don't have to be scared and limited by the challenges and the obstacles. Oftentimes, I feel like we always anticipate that something bad will happen, especially if we are having a good time right now. You know what? I get that. And especially growing up shy and having anxiety, I feel like there is always something bound to happen wrong, and I have to be careful with everything that I do. I tend to be neurotic and I try to control things. I tend to micromanage and I try to put everything in my hands even if it is gonna be beyond me. So I catch myself doing all these things and I see that I'm not actually enjoying the moment because I am scared of what's to come next. And then I feel so much down when things don't go my way and I have a hard time dealing with problems. I dwell too much on the problems rather than finding an actual solution, thinking accordingly, thinking subjectively, and just solving what needs to be solved. And I know everything's out of my control. Not everything can be within your reach, not everything can be solved by you, and not everything will be enjoyable. Bottom line, I was stuck feeling like it's always not gonna be my season. I will only thrive for a certain amount of time and then I will go back to feeling low because there will always be problems that will be going my way and I'm only gonna enjoy for a certain moment of time before something else bad happens. It's human to feel things like this and we don't have to be limited by life, because it's not going to be worth living if we're always looking out for something bad that will happen next. It can't be predicted. The future can't actually be predicted. There is a line between being cautious and being pessimistic. You can always work around your emotions and perspective about the ups and downs of life. Regardless of what has happened and what is to come, you can always take more control of your life and start seeing it at a different perspective. You can make it more agreeable and worth living by shifting your mindset. Everything will actually work out for you if you start believing that. So let me break down these different mindset shifts that you can start to implement in your life to actually feel like it is always agreeing with you. First, you have to learn to ride the waves of life. This quote is similar to the saying that life is like a roller coaster. Sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down. But being down doesn't have to always mean that you will be in a negative space wherein you will not thrive anymore and that you will always be in that low negative feeling. It doesn't have to mean like you will be low after being in such a high and that low will not enable you to be productive, to be happy, to thrive, to do things that you enjoy. The fact that life is actually compared to an amusement ride at this quote means that you should still be able to enjoy your ride, your life, regardless of what is going on, whether you're up or whether you're down. For me, learning to ride the roller coaster or the waves of life means that you just have to be flexible. You need to learn how to adjust. For one thing, our body is actually naturally built to adapt to different environments. We have an innate regulatory mechanism that will physically aid us in adjusting to, let's say, colder temperature, to a higher altitude. We can always adjust to any extremities of life. When we feel anxious, when we feel excited, happy or sad, our body can internally regulate and adapt to how we are feeling or where we are at. There is such a thing as homeostasis, which is basically our body's ability to adapt and stabilize when we are dealing with such external forces that are at the extremes and when these forces actually disrupt our normal body's balance. So with that fact, we can come to realize that we are literally built to withstand different pressures in life. But it is up to us now on how we will internally, in our mind, cope with the changes of life, cope with what we have to deal with. Because we have to do this in order to ride the waves of life, in order to go with the flow of life and be able to adjust And make sure that you are still making the most of your journey, regardless if you are in a high or in a low. While it is inevitable for us to sometimes go in surviving rather than living mode, being able to shift your mindset can make such a difference. How you learn to ride the waves of life can simply start by being gentle with yourself, by being able to internalize the kind of unfortunate situation that you may be in. Next, you do your best to cope and meet with the changes that you have to make. Life can still go your way, even if you are facing something unexpected, when you learn how to adapt and how to make the most of what you can. You can always choose to dwell on how you can still make something worthwhile and worth living, and how you can still give your best, or how you can prioritize yourself, your happiness, your comfort, regardless of the situation that you are in, regardless if it is unexpected. For example, when you fail a test at school, or you didn't make it yet on your first try at a job interview, it will sting for sure, but this unfortunate thing doesn't have to last. Because when you know how to ride the waves of life, you know how to recollect yourself and focus on assessing what you can improve on. Focus on shifting that negative feeling into a more positive mindset wherein you are enabled to take action. You are motivated to do better next time. You know how to comfort your own self, and you know how to transform this energy and be able to make it into something productive, make it into something that will help you improve in the future. You don't dwell or waste too much of your time and energy on focusing on something that has happened in the past, focusing on the negative emotions, how that rejection felt for you, how you are at a low, and on how you didn't achieve that one thing you were really rooting for. You know, being invested too much into something that you can't undo will not actually do anything for you. I'm sorry, but there's no point in crying about spilled milk. But this doesn't mean though that you have to be tough all the time and that you're not allowed to cry or show any negative emotions and be able to just bounce back after that rejection, after being in such a negative space, because you actually need a release and an outlet for your emotions. It is valid to feel down. It is human to initially feel low, to feel like you have to cry. And you know what? Just do it. Just release everything. Let it all out. But keep this at the back of your mind. How can I actually comfort myself, and what is the next step that I have to take in order to turn this situation around, in order to still feel like life is worth living despite the things that I have to handle, the things that I have to now focus on? How do I reshift my mindset? How do I focus on the good? How do I focus on improvement? At the end of the day, it is how you handle the situation and how well you bounce back. It will take time to get used to being focused on improvement or focus on what you should do next when you face a challenge, because emotions will actually get in the way, but you have to control that emotion and transform it into something productive. You can always try to train your mind on focusing on what you can improve and how you can do better next time. Focus your control on how you can adapt when things don't go well. How can you shift from feeling like, why did this happen to me, to how can I comfort myself? How can I do better next time? What can I learn from this, and how do I make it positive, and how do I take light from this situation moving forward? When you get used to this, you naturally see the lows of life as opportunities to grow and to learn. Second, you should be able to trust the timing and the process. Okay, with the fast pace of our lifestyles at the present, it is a no-brainer that we schedule almost everything in our lives, from how we will go on with the year, with the month, with our goals, with our daily to-do lists, and our routines. It is a given that we are all organized and that you really have to stay on top of your schedule. You should be able to accomplish all these goals, all these tasks in a day in order to make sure that you are moving forward with your bigger goal. You have to be able to do this so that you are staying right on track. We make sure to always plan ahead and take actual steps in order to meet certain deadlines and reach certain milestones. However, regardless of how much we plan and how much we try to schedule, it is inevitable that sometimes the timing we want will not always be the timing that will go as planned. And you know what? That doesn't have to be another negative thing that will again hamper your progress and impede your emotions, make you feel like you are in a negative space just because the timing you expected didn't come as planned. Once again, it will hurt one way or another when we don't land that dream job, when we don't get into that dream school, and when we don't get the thing that we want at the time that we want. When you miss an event that you were intended to go to, when that holiday vacation you've been planning for months didn't push through, of course it will disappoint you. But again, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. There is only so much that you can control, and if it is meant for you, it will come for you regardless of the timeline, regardless of the seasons or the delays that you will be facing, regardless of what you will encounter. It will come for you. Another way to look at it is that rejections are redirections. In a way, you are actually being protected from bad energies. Something bad that might happen to you if that thing pushed through. From something negative. When things don't go your way sometimes, think of it as a protection. Sometimes it is God's way of changing how your life will roll out in order for you to dodge something bad and be redirected into something better. So this is somewhat connected, and it reminds me of the burnt toast theory, which is essentially a metaphorical concept that suggests that seemingly negative or unfavorable scenarios are actually saving you from a further misfortune. The name burnt toast is from an example that when you are in a scenario wherein your toast burns in the morning and it causes you a delay in leaving your house, on your way to work, on your way to school, on your way to something, that delay is actually saving you from an incoming or an impeding car accident that actually happened minutes before you left the house, and that would have happened to you if you left your house earlier. So with that in mind, simply look at it as there is something much more for you than what you have missed. There's something better out there for you than what you didn't experience. There will always be abundance for you somewhere down the road. When you fully commit to trusting the process and the timing that you have to go through in order for you to be where you are meant to be, you won't have so much doubt and negativity. But of course, doing your best and working hard, working smart, putting in all the effort that you find necessary should always come hand in hand with this trust. You don't leave it all to timing, to the universe, to God, to be able to help you to process life and get to where you want to be. But overall, you get to understand and make sense of what you have to go through and why things are happening to you at this certain time in your life. For example, back in college, I was just an average student and I was honestly failing multiple assessments, multiple quizzes of major subjects during junior and senior year. And after graduation, I only had 2 months to review for our board exams. And that exam was the highest stake exam because it will determine if I can get to have my license as a registered medical technologist in the country. So knowing myself, I enrolled in a review center in order for me to stay disciplined and stay on track with my studies and make the most of the little time that I have in order to prepare and review for the board exams. But things went a little differently, and I actually took a month-long trip after my graduation, which left me with only 1 month left to review for the biggest exam of my life. I actually also only filed my application for the exam the day before the deadline of the application. I was feeling so much anxiety and fear at that time because I know that I was just an average student back in college and I didn't have the best grades, but I just did my best and prayed it all to God. Fast forward, I was able to take my board exams with my 1 month of review, and it felt surreal knowing that I only had this little time to prepare, yet I still passed the board exams. I still passed regardless of what I went through in college, regardless of the duration of my review. At times, I wasn't even maximizing the days that I am reviewing. I wasn't maximizing my time. I wasn't as intense as the other reviewees. But I stay focused on my own task and I stay focused in my own lane. I didn't compare my progress with others. I didn't let my college journey define how I will perform at this last exam. And I just honestly did my best and prayed and hoped and tried to make the most out of it, even though I wasn't making the most out of the day, you know what I mean? I believe that it all happened because It was my time. It was my time to pass the boards. I was meant to pass the boards. I was meant to take the board exam regardless if I filed my application the day before the deadline. I may not be a straight A student back in college, but it did not define where I would be after I graduate. It was actually from this experience that I realized that what is meant for me will eventually come to me regardless of the timing, as long as I do my best and trust God. I may not always be at my prime or where I plan to be, but it is all part of a process. It is all part of my journey. There is only so much that can be within my control. But ultimately, the timing and the process will always come in play, and it will if it is your time. No matter how much you work or plan out everything, if it is not for you yet, it won't be fulfilled yet. And once you learn and understand that this is completely okay, and you can always work around it and be able to still go on with your life, regardless of the timing, regardless of how everything is playing out, then there's no stopping you. So next, God and the universe are always working in your favor. So this is somewhat related to the previous mindset shift, but once you fully realize that life is not working against you, then you'd understand why everything is unfolding the way they are. So I personally believe in God, and it took some time for me to fully eliminate different superstitious beliefs that are not in alignment with my faith. And so when I was able to do that, over time, I came to realize God's plans, and I realized that they're always good, and He will never forsake me. I may not fully know His full plans yet are for me, but I genuinely trust that it will be meaningful and that it will above all be good. He will continue to give abundance and lead me into the right direction. Regardless of what you believe in, the bottom line is this. Life in general is always working out in your favor. It is working with you, not against you. It will always play out in your favor. It might not always make sense, but sooner or later, it will. When you choose to believe and affirm that all things will eventually go your way, that mindset will get you through so much. Your actions will start to align to how you feel and what your goals are, and things will actually flow naturally, and you will naturally act in favor of what you want to become or what you want to achieve. You will naturally act in a way that will help you to be closer and help you to reach your goals. Even if you don't succeed in the first try or things doesn't go your way unexpectedly, you understand that it doesn't mean that it will never happen for you anymore. It doesn't mean that there won't come a time that you will achieve the things that are meant for you. It doesn't mean that it will never be how you want it to be or how it will never improve. Instead, you are more motivated to keep going because you believe that it will certainly happen at some point in time, regardless again of the timing, because everything is working with you. God and the universe are always working with you and in favor of you, in favor of the things that you want to happen. Come to understand this. If it is not yet working in your favor, if it is not yet a happy ending, then it is not the end. There is still so much more to do, and there's still so much to look out for. Your journey doesn't, and it will not end in a bad place. Continue to keep this in mind, and you will be a magnet for success. And then you will be able to fully commit and give your all. And then all things will soon align in your favor. Life is not against you, and you certainly shouldn't give anything or anyone else the power to hurt you or to hamper your plans. For example, I think it's common for us to think that other people knowing our plans will ruin it altogether. But why give so much power to others that them knowing what you are doing will then dictate the outcomes of your plans, will then dictate the outcomes of your endeavors? Yeah, for sure, sometimes there will be some unsupportive or negative energy, and you absolutely do not need to broadcast everything that you are doing, everything you are planning with everyone, with just anyone. You don't have to tell your every move to anyone, even if that person is the closest to you. You actually do not owe anyone an explanation or any life updates. You can always be selective of what you share. But I hope you don't get too limited with the fear and the idea that when you share something to someone, when you share your plans to others, then it won't go your way because they are working against it. Don't limit what you do or what you share to others as long as it is within your boundaries. Just be able and just be cautious enough to know the people that you will trust Just be cautious in what you say to others and make sure that you are still protecting your own peace, your own boundaries. Ultimately, you control your own actions and the outcomes of what you are doing. And the outcomes of what you are doing does not actually concern the hidden intentions of others. Once again, life is always working in your favor, and God will always be looking after you and guiding you. So next, focus on what you can control. This is somewhat connecting to learning to ride with the waves of life and consciously choosing to focus on the things that you can take control of will make you feel much more productive and much more in touch with your life. This will help you make the most out of everything because you don't have too much time thinking of what ifs or doubting excessively. So when you don't dwell too much on things that happened or what has transpired in the past, or those that ultimately cannot be changed by you, you cannot take control over it anymore, it is out of your hands, then you are not distracted and you can think more clearly and more rationally. So controlling your actions is one thing, but taking a hold of your emotions is another. As humans, I feel like it is normal and valid to feel a certain way and react the way that we do when things don't go our way, for example. It is valid and it is healthy to a certain extent when you cry or you break down or you lash out as an initial reaction to something. But having emotional intelligence and being careful with how you show or who you show your emotions to are very important. You should be able to take control of your feelings and not let it consume you. You should be able to have boundaries and limits, and you should know how to react. When you are feeling extreme emotions like anger or happiness, you should still be mindful of how you will let your feelings out. Be mindful of the words that you will use and how you will communicate with others. And this is also important when you are alone. Be mindful of the things that you say or the things that you think and reflect on when you are feeling such high emotions when you are alone, because this will reflect your relationship with yourself. This will ultimately reflect your personality, who you are, how you have developed over the years. Because how you present yourself, how you treat yourself, how you talk to yourself or to others, and the things that you say when you are in such an emotional high mirror yourself a lot. You should learn how to take control of your emotions as much as you do your actions. When you are capable of being focused on yourself and mindful of the things you do, as well as manage your emotions well, you will find it much easier to deal with life even if it is not favorable. You don't catch yourself losing control and being taken over by different limiting beliefs, by different negative emotions, by fear even, by anxiety. You do not limit yourself by crashing down and completely shutting off when you experience any sort of inconvenience because you know how to work your way around it. You should be able to take control of your emotions as well as your actions, and these should always come hand in hand with each other. By successfully doing so, you are being guided on what you should do next, on how you should go on with your life, and how you can turn things around. Moving on. There are no wrong choices, just lessons learned. You have to realize that everything is either a good experience or a learning experience. When you look at misfortunes as events that will allow you to learn, to grow, to develop further, then you are taking your power. You are taking control. You are owning the moment. You are owning yourself, and you're being responsible. You are not dwelling on how bad the situation has gone, and instead your brain is now being wired to understand that this bad experience is actually an opportunity to grow, to improve, to better myself for the next time. It is actually time for me to start leveling up, and that is why I am dealing with this situation right now, because I should know and I should be able to work my way around it, to change a seemingly bad experience, a bad situation, into a learning experience, to be able to do better the next time. The things that I've done might have led to some sort of discomfort, but it is in this discomfort that I will progress and that I will choose to see the good in this. Once you switch your thinking to, why do I keep making mistakes? I should have done better, to, I am learning something from this, I am growing from this experience, I will end up as a better person despite of what is seemingly unfortunate right now, then you'd fully realize that whatever happens, you are either going to enjoy or you are going to learn. Things will once again naturally start to go within your favor when your mindset is focused on growth, is focused on what you can improve and how you can level up. When you choose to see the beauty and the lessons amidst the madness and the chaos, when you choose to believe that discomfort is temporary and that the knowledge you will gain after is much more worth it, then you are able to take control. You are able to work things around, be able to uplift yourself, and be able to experience more positive emotions because you know you can bounce back and that you can always recover regardless of where you are right now. Once again, just choose to see the positive side and what you can gain from the things that you've missed. Use the new knowledge to your advantage. Better yourself and come back with more experiences. You will be able to be more flexible with how you will be and how you will conquer more of the things you are bound to experience in the future. You will be able to conquer more of what is in store for you regardless if it is something uncomfortable. You will actually feel comfortable with being uncomfortable. And when you are comfortable with the fact that you are doing your best and sometimes it will not go your way, then you will still be okay regardless. You will come out at the other side with more insights and as someone who has learned and have grown so much. And moving on to the last point, practice gratitude and optimism. It is so important to always be grateful to where you are and what you have right now. You always have a choice to see the beauty in your life and to find something to be thankful for regardless of how your day has been going. You have the choice to dwell on what is abundant and what is good for you right now. Even in adversities, there are still the at leasts. There is always something to be thankful for. There's always something to find that is worth being thankful for and will help you to realize that you are still living a good life. At least you still have this. At least you still have that. Regardless of what you are facing right now. Regardless if you are in such a bad situation right now. At least you're still alive. It is as simple as this. When you look at a bad day with gratitude, then your attention and your mind shifts to something more positive. You are instantly filled with a little happiness and with a little hope. You will not be stuck feeling down because you are distracted by the fact that there is still so much more to enjoy and to celebrate in life. There are still a lot of good things out there for you, and there are still a lot of answered prayers that you are living in right now. You have to realize as well that overall, it was just a bad day. It was just a bad experience. It's not a bad life altogether. You can still choose to stay positive and be hopeful. There's still so much more to celebrate and there are still good things that are happening in your life for you. This will then affect your mood and how you feel. This will affect your energy and how you perceive things and altogether affect how you will act, how you will react, and how you will cope with life. This will enable you to feel like you are not stuck or doomed even if it feels so heavy right now because you understand that life has its ups and downs and you are still so blessed regardless if you are in a down right now, regardless if you feel like you are not favored right now and if it's not looking good right now. Well, there is a line between optimism and toxic positivity. And while there is a time for everything, and certainly it will not always going to be all light and fun and happiness when you're really going through something, you can still redirect on how you will spend your energy and take care of yourself. You can choose to romanticize your life accordingly, and you can still be focused on what you can improve on, how your day can simply improve, or how you can manage your mood. It also doesn't have to be a rush. There are no strict rules on recovery, on how you should cope with something. But what I'm saying is that you always have a choice. You are always in control of your emotions and your feelings, and there is always something to be thankful for. You don't have to force yourself to be positive, to be happy, to even smile when you're really feeling down. But you can always choose to understand and see that you are in control. What happens next will be directed by you. What you will do next will depend on how you think, what you think should be the next step. Bottom line, there is always something to be thankful for, regardless of what is happening in your life right now. And you can always choose to see it that way. You can always choose to see that you are still so blessed. As we come to an end, I hope you realize that you have full control of your life. And it's not just about what you do, but how you wire your brain as well. You can definitely have a life that is favorable, that is something always worth living, regardless if you are in an unfortunate situation. When you focus on what you can control, and when you focus to shift your mindset into the things that you can improve on, you can ultimately have life favor you when you choose to focus on what you can control and practice romanticizing life the best way that you can. There will always be unfavorable days, but these experiences do not have to limit you and make you feel like you are living a bad life. You are always favored, and you can actually always choose how you will go on and how you will rise up. And you will feel more at ease when you learn how to shift your mindset during the hard times. Start small. You don't have to pressure yourself to instantly be the type of person who is so resilient, who can bounce back at any time, at any point. Slow down and realize that you are a work in progress. You will get there even if you don't rush, even if you take longer than the others. It will happen for you as long as you do your best. Also, your best doesn't have to look uniform, doesn't have to be at the same level every time, doesn't have to be linear. If 30% or 50% is the best for you at that day, then so be it. Just deal with it with the best that you can. Just give it your all, even if that's 30% or lower. And when you can only do one thing at a time, one thing today from the things that I have shared over the past few minutes, then you're still accomplished. You are still bound to feel more positive. You are still bound to feel more favored and feel like you are coping well with life. Just always give yourself credit. How you can actually make life more favorable is by doing your best, trusting and being gentle with yourself, especially during the hard times, and being able to rewire your mind to focus on the good and what you can improve on.